Hey, you. Yeah, you. Let me tell you something most people don't understand until it's too late. Sometimes it's not the goodbye that hurts. It's the fact that you didn't say anything at all. They thought you'd argue, beg, explain, plead, but you didn't. You just went quiet. No dramatic exit, no final words, no emotional paragraphs. Just silence. And that silence, it wasn't out of weakness, it was your final act of strength. See, people underestimate the kind of pain that leads someone to go quiet. They think silence is passive, but it's not. It's powerful. It's terrifyingly powerful because it speaks volumes without ever needing a sound. So in this video, we're gonna dive into the real reason your silence hits harder than anything you could have said. We're talking raw truth, the stuff they'll never admit but always feel. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly why your silence isn't just a reaction, it's a revolution. Let's get into it. Point 1. When you stop explaining, they start reflecting. Hey, you know what's crazy? The moment you stop explaining yourself, really stop, that's when they finally start thinking. You spent so long trying to be understood, trying to prove your heart, your intentions, your loyalty, and they just brushed it off like it was nothing. But silence hits different. It doesn't give them anything to push against. No arguments, no justifications, no emotional paragraphs, just quiet. And that quiet, that's when their mind starts racing. Did I go too far? Were they really done this whole time? Why aren't they fighting for me anymore? They didn't expect peace, they expected noise. But your silence is doing what your words never could. It's making them face themselves. And the truth is, when you stop trying to be understood, they finally start realizing what they never tried to understand in the first place. Point 2. Silence feels like rejection, even when you're not trying to reject. You know what's wild? You weren't even trying to hurt them. You weren't trying to make a statement. You just went quiet because you were tired. But to them, that silence feels like rejection. Not the loud dramatic kind, the quiet kind that hits way harder, the kind that says, you're not even worth a response. And the ego? Oh, it hates that, because people can handle anger, they can handle shouting, tears, even arguments, but silence, that makes them feel invisible. And for someone who thought they mattered so much to you, that silence feels like a slap in the face. The truth is, you weren't rejecting them. You were finally choosing you, and that's what stings the most. Realizing they're no longer the center of your world, and you're not even trying to make them feel it. Point 3. The ego can't handle being ignored. Listen to me. The one thing a person's ego cannot handle is being ignored, especially by someone who used to care. They might act unbothered. They might post like they've moved on, but deep down, your silence is driving them crazy because it cuts off the one thing their ego was feeding on, your attention. See, the ego doesn't just want love, it wants control. And when you were reacting, reaching out, checking in, you were giving them that, but now that you're silent, now they've got nothing. No validation, no reassurance, no proof that you still care. And that emptiness, it starts to mess with their head. They're not used to being ignored by you. And the longer you stay silent, the more their ego starts to crumble. Not because you're hurting them on purpose, but because they've never had to face a version of you that doesn't revolve around them. Point 4. They expected you to break, but you didn't. You know what's messing with them the most right now? The fact that you didn't break. They were so sure you'd reach out. They thought you'd fold after a few days. Maybe send a long message. Maybe call late at night, maybe post something emotional just to get their attention. But you didn't. And now, they're confused, because the version of you they thought they knew, the one who always forgave, always chased, isn't showing up this time. That silence, it's not weakness, it's strength. It's you finally standing tall without needing them to see it. And that shift, that's what's shaking them. They expected drama, they expected tears, they expected you to need them, but you didn't chase, you didn't beg, you chose peace, and nothing is louder than that. Point 5. They're watching you glow, without them. You know what's hitting them the hardest right now? It's not the silence itself, it's the fact that you're glowing in it. You're not sitting around broken, you're not posting sad quotes, you're not chasing, you're just getting better. Quietly, steadily, beautifully. Maybe it's the way your energy feels different now, or the way you've started smiling again. That real kind of smile. Maybe you've been working on yourself, hanging with people who actually appreciate you, doing things that make you feel alive again. And guess what? They're watching. Even if you don't see it, they are. And it eats at them, because now all that love, all that time, all that effort you used to pour into them, you're pouring into yourself. You're not trying to make them jealous. You're not trying to get revenge. You're just finally choosing you, fully, without apology. And that's when it hits them. They didn't just lose your attention. They lost your light. They lost someone who would have built a whole future with them. And now they're stuck watching that future from the outside. Point 6. Your silence proves you were never desperate. You were devoted. You know what they're realizing now? You were never desperate. You were devoted. And there's a big difference. You weren't chasing because you had no options. You weren't staying because you were weak. You loved them deeply, fully, and you showed up for them even when they didn't deserve it. But now that you've gone silent, it's making that truth crystal clear. Because desperate people keep reaching out. Desperate people need constant attention, but you just stopped. No warning, no begging. You walked away with your dignity. And now they're looking back, realizing you didn't need them. You chose them. And they mistook your loyalty for dependence, but your silence proves you were always strong enough to leave. You just loved them enough to stay longer than you should have. Point 7. Silence isn't emptiness, it's evolution. Hey, I know it might feel quiet right now, still, maybe even a little lonely, but this silence, it's not emptiness, it's evolution. You're not just cutting someone off, you're reconnecting with parts of yourself you forgot existed. The peace you're sitting in right now, it's not boring, it's healing. It's what growth feels like when you finally stop pouring into someone who couldn't pour back. You're not lost. You're becoming, and the version of you that's being built in this silence, it's stronger, wiser, calmer, someone who doesn't need to prove their worth because they know it now. They thought your silence meant you had nothing left to say. But what they don't realize is that you've simply outgrown the need to be understood by someone who never really saw you to begin with. This isn't the end of your story. This is your becoming. So if you're sitting in silence right now, wondering if it matters, it does. Not because it's hurting them, but because it's healing you. You're not being cold, you're choosing peace. And trust me, that's the loudest thing you'll ever say.